My family and I live in West Africa. I am from Canada, my husband is from the US, and we travel a lot. Traveling is stressful, especially between Gambia and Senegal. One thing I love about Gambia is that they speak English. I just really enjoyed being there. We were there for 3 weeks and we had a really great time. We got to go and visit some restaurants. We visited the monkey park the last time we were there and we really enjoyed it. The kids really loved having the monkeys on our shoulders and we were able to feed them. We were able to have them all around us. We even got to go to a really neat park. And there was a water slide there, which was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed that as well. Traveling back and forth, I really enjoyed it. The one thing that I really struggle with is the border. It's almost like you have a hard time getting into Gambia. Once you're there, they don't want you to leave because this is the second or the third time that we've had so many issues with first the ferry. There are two ways that you can get into the area in Gambia where we go. You can either go on a bridge, which goes around, or you can take a ferry, which from the capital takes you right to the capital. Which the ferry, if you can get on the ferry right away, but the problem with the ferry is right now there's only one ferry running. Normally there's two. So when there's two ferries running, then it flows a little bit better and people are going back and forth a lot faster. It just takes a really long time. Well, we left on Sunday morning and we thought we would leave Sunday because we thought traffic would be really slow. There wouldn't be a lot of people waiting to get on the ferry. Most people are already home in the weekend and they're not making their way across to work the next day. Normally that would be Monday morning. We thought we would get right on and get on our way. Well, plans, like I have learned living in Africa for the last 15 years, rarely go the way that you have planned it. I did have planned for us I did make a lunch for us because from that trip, normally there's not a lot of restaurants in between. So I did plan on a lunch and we had lots of snacks. But we arrived at the ferry about 7:44. That's when Josh bought the ticket. And then we sat there all day. We thought, oh, maybe the first and the second we wouldn't make it on because there were a few people ahead of us. But we thought for sure, like the third time they came around, that we would get on. Well, time passed. We had our pit stop there, which was not very pleasant. We had lunch sitting there at the ferry, and I'm so glad that we did bring a lunch. And then we finally got up to where we're guaranteed to get on the ferry the next time. The ferry went across, we pulled up right beside, so we knew we would be like the first, second person on the ferry. And then we had to come up with a decision because if we were to go across the ferry at that time, 4:30, that's when the ferry left. So the ferry probably wouldn't get back for another hour. And by the time they got all the cars off, they went there, came back, and then all the cars went off the ferry. And then loading back up. That would probably be an hour and a half. It gets dark here at around 7 o'clock. We had to make a decision, what do we do? If we go across the ferry, we still have to go through the border, which is another hour. And living in Africa for 15 years, one thing that we have said we would never do anymore, we've done it a few times and it's very scary and dangerous. There are people who drive with no headlights and you're driving and all of a sudden this car is right there. Or people break down in the middle of the road and there's like no light, nothing until you're right there in front of it. It is just very dangerous. I would say 90%, well, maybe less than that, 75-80% of the accidents that happen in Africa are at nighttime for that reason. And we have just made that decision early in our career or mission life here that we would not drive at nighttime. We knew that if we were to cross right now, there is about 30 minutes before you get to the border. We'd be at the border for an hour, and then there's 3 hours before we hit any civilization, really. So we would not get a motel or anything until 3 hours down the road. Even after we sat there all day long, like very frustrating. You're sitting there all day waiting to get on this ferry. And then finally, when your time is there, you decide, well, we better not get on this ferry because if we get on it now, we are going to have issues on the other side, like in Senegal, and we're not going to have a place we're going to have to be forced to drive at night. We decided, let's just go back to the mission house. We'll stay there for the night. It will save us money from having to get another room along the way, and then we'll just start in the morning and we'll do the bridge. So that's what we decided to do. We ended up going back. We went out to eat at a restaurant that we really loved. The kids love it. And then we got ice cream, which was a nice treat. We got to bed early, had a good night's sleep, had it the next morning. I didn't have really a lot of things to make as snacks, but I did get some eggs at the boutique, and I boiled like 15 boiled eggs. 15 boiled eggs. We had those as snacks. And then I did some fruit. I did find some fruit at a fruit stand and had that washed up. And that's what we had until we got to another area that had like a restaurant, which was like 4 or 5 hours down the road. We headed off. We said goodbye to our friends and we made our way. We got to the bridge, which was it is a really neat bridge. It's a very big bridge that goes right across the river, and we got there, and then the bridge is really close to the border, so then we got to the border. We were there. Not too bad. It actually took a little bit. There weren't as many people. There were a few people there, but not too bad. Probably 30 minutes there. We had to stamp out, get our passports stamped in the Gambia, and then go to Senegal and get stamped in. That takes a little bit of time. Our fingerprints, all of that stuff. We got through there, headed off in Senegal, and probably about 3.5 hours. Then we got to a restaurant, Jules Chicken, which was one of our favorite chicken restaurants in Senegal. We stopped there, had a pit stop, which are always unpleasant, and you never know what you're going to run into with the bathrooms at a gas station. And then we made our way. I think the total of drive time was 10 hours. I did stop on the way, and they were selling some dried hibiscus and some dried bui, which was for a really good price, so I got a bunch of that. So we're going to make some bui from the baobab tree that is grown here in Senegal, and then some hibiscus, which is the bee sap that I know I talk about, and I even have a video on that too, how to make that, which is so good. We really enjoy that. And then we finally arrived, I think 6:30 at our house. We had to unpack everything. We had luggage on top of our car, so we unpacked everything, and that's always stressful too. It's like you pack everything up, and then when you come back, everything has to go back to its place, and unpack clothes and unpack things that we bought. And we did buy a few fun things too that we can't get here in Senegal that we bought in Gambia, so that's always fun. But overall, we had a really great trip, and I have learned to really go with the flow. Not a lot of times traveling here, I try not to be too stressed about it. I try to just go with the flow with it, and it makes it a little more fun. If I'm sitting and stressed over something that we can't change, we can't do anything about, we just have to adapt to it, and that's just the way traveling is. It always seems like that. You can make a plan. It's good to make plans, but it's also good to be prepared if those plans never plan out the way that you planned them, and that happens here a lot. It's something that I have had to learn over the last 15 years. But I love sharing these stories with you all. I hope that you enjoyed this story, and I hope that you will follow along and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any ideas, if you some things that you would like to see that we've experienced here, if you would like to see more food from Senegal, more way of life from Senegal, specific things that you would love to see, comment below. Let me know. I would love to share that with you. I love to share my life in Africa with you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.